And we're back again doing the United States Constitution line by line. We are now on the 8th Amendment to the Constitution. My friend is Paul Fabrizio, Professor of Political Science. I'm Don Fraser, Professor of History. And now we are on Amendment 8.
And Amendment 8 is a famous amendment, but we're going to hold off on the famous part to another.
Yeah, we're going to break it into two parts, A and B.
Okay? So, and this often isn't done, but we're going for it. Okay?
Yeah.
So, the first part, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed. And we'll stop right there. Okay?
Okay.
So, this is, a pretty simple thing, and I'm curious about the historical part of it, but if you get arrested and you go before the judge and the judge doesn't want to jail you, they impose a bail on you, right?
Well, they jail you and then you get a bail to get out of jail.
Okay, but that's basically it. In other words, they have the right to hold you, but they really want to get rid of you until you come back for trial.
Sure,
Okay?
It's amazing. A lot of times through history, through ancient history, jail was a very rare event.
Okay.
A lot of times it was fines, public punishment on the spot, after some sort of trial, but you essentially stayed at the house.
Yeah.
And if you ran for it, they'd send somebody for you. But a lot of times, instead of throwing somebody in prison indefinitely, they would make them just go away.
Right.
Whatever that looked like.
And remember, we have in the body of the Constitution the right to a bill of attainder, which is no punishment without trial.
Correct.
So therefore, we have to be very careful about putting people in jail.
Correct.
Before they're actually convicted of anything.
And making them stay there by imposing a big fine.
So therefore, what we have is this idea of bail. In other words, we want to make sure you come back, so we're going to impose this financial penalty on you. You give us money and you can go free. Okay? And most people go get a bail bond, and that bail bond is usually 10% of the actual bail. But anyway, what the amendment says is that you can't impose excessive bail.
Or fines.
Or fines. But let's take the first part first. So you can't impose excessive bail. So if you're picked up for shoplifting, they can't impose a bail of $100,000 on you. That's just crazy.
But But who determines what is excessive?
It's the job of the judge to do that. But of course, if the bail seems excessive, what do? You appeal that.
Sure.
And you can appeal it and you say, Judge, look, I don't think that's correct. I disagree with that.
I was just stealing snack pack pudding over on aisle 6.
Yeah, exactly. The total value of that is this. Therefore, it's that.
At the Safeway in Arlington. Not that I would know anything about that.
Okay. Something you want to tell us?
I was 5.
Oh, okay. Don!
I know. Well, I was also unsupervised at 5. Sorry.
Okay. Well, okay. Running the streets wild.
Yeah, I was.
5
I was
in
a feral
Arlington.
child in Arlington, Texas.
All right. So, we do hear about bail for people who are at great risk.
Flight risk.
Flight risk. Or people who are very wealthy, committing heinous crimes, for example, billionaires who get arrested, millionaires who get arrested. They're going to impose a bail on them that might be more, in some people's mind, more excessive or excessive.
Yes.
But the whole point is they want them to come back.
They want them to come back, and they want it to crimp them.
Exactly. So you can get away with that kind of stuff. It's sort of an elastic way to look at this.
And I think that part of this is therapy for the young Americans because, they had come from circumstances where sometimes people were thrown in jail.
Yes.
With no way of ever getting out because they couldn't pay the fine.
Yes.
And then their family had to cough up the fine, which then just has a ripple effect throughout everybody they know. So I think that part of this is probably in response to that.
Yeah.
New country, new rules.
Yeah, exactly. And then you add on to that the other part, excessive fines. What kind of penalty can you have? can be imposed. And you look at the excessive fines. You can't have excessive fines. You can't have excessive bail. And then you look at that with the next part we'll take up in the next recording, and that would be cruel and unusual punishment. In other words, what we've got is through the Bill of Rights, we got an attempt to impose procedures on the whole process of your interaction with the government. So from the first time the police talk to you, all the way through
To
your
the last
trial.
gurney ride.
Exactly. All the way through your trial and what kind of punishment
Yeah.
you have. All of this was laid out by the Constitution in an attempt to say, hey, we're not like the Brits.
We're not like those old folks on the other side of the Atlantic.
We're going to be reasonable here. We're going to do things that make some sense. So in other words, it's like we're starting all over.
Yeah, new country, new rules.
Yeah.
And even the crappiest among us have protections.
Yes, there you go. And that's a very important part. One of the things that stands out when you look at the Bill of Rights and you look at American history is some of the people who, because of their actions, we've got our rights defined. Some of these people are just despicable.
Despicable.
And yet their actions and the result from the courts have been to ensure and enshrine our freedoms that we have.
Yeah.
But some of them you just don't want to meet.
You
don't
wouldn't
wanna
have
know.
dinner with.
Yeah, or lunch.
Or lunch. Or breakfast.
I'm getting hungry now.
All right, so that's
the first part.
That's part A.
of the Eighth Amendment. When we come back, we'll talk about the other part.
all right. Well, we're coming back next with part B of the Eighth Amendment. Thanks.